In your life, you're going to meet battery chargers and battery drainers. Some people you spend time with, and afterwards you think, ugh, my social battery's drained. But then here, everyone's just filling up the battery.
People think hiring more people will help them scale, but hiring the right people is going to make you scale.
Visibility equals profitability. The great thing we have at our disposal is social media. Social media is a great equalizer for that.
What is that one mistake that have taught you the biggest lesson in these 15 years of your agency career?
You can't do it all yourself. You can't do everything. You can't design the delivery, the accounts. All of these things you can't do. So you need to surround yourself with the right people.
Hi, I am Saad and I'm the founder of Acutagramming. I'm starting this podcast series where I'll be hosting marketing agency owners in Dubai. We have partner marketing agencies who are moving from the UK, from the US to Dubai. I would love to have them have a little chat about their experiences, talk about Dubai, talk about their move. I hope it'll be exciting and I would love for you guys to be a part of it. Hopefully you'll enjoy the series. So the first podcast that I'm doing right now is with Gareth, and he's one of our agency partners, and we have been working together since last 2 years. And over to you, Gareth. I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me on the first episode of the podcast. How exciting.
Yeah, of course.
So my name's Gareth Martindale. I am the founder and CEO of Sherbert Lemon, and we are a full-service creative design agency set up 15 years ago in the UK, and a long time. And then 18 months ago, we set up a Dubai office as well. So very exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome to Dubai as well. So my first question was why Dubai? There's so many emerging markets, aren't they, like Singapore, Hong Kong. So why Dubai for Sherbert Lemon as Gareth himself, as a person?
Very good question, and not a simple one to answer. So I'd like to say it was very thought out, planned, but it wasn't like that at all. So 2 years ago, two of our biggest clients from the UK moved out here and set up their businesses. So we helped them establish themselves. And then within a few months of them arriving here, realized that they actually needed an agency, sort of boots on the ground out here that they could rely on. I think they were a little nervous of using our services from the UK and not being able to be on the same page. So it was a case that we might lose those clients. So they were moving out, and that would leave a big hole for us. So we looked into it. We saw things that were going on out here, how markets were booming, how people were just setting up all over the place, and thought, right, okay, let's have a discovery trip. Mm-hmm. We'll come out, a few of us, just to see what it's like, meet people, say hello to people we already knew out here. And then within, we were here for 5 days, and we knew straight away, okay, this is where we want to set up our new office.
And I have noticed there's a lot of people who are moving from the UK to Dubai lately. Yesterday I was at the Paddle and I met someone who moved to Dubai 2 weeks ago. His name is Luis. He works for an insurance company, and he said the same thing. In the UK currently, there's some uncertainty, the whole government and other stuff. So many people are deciding to move to Dubai and other parts of the world. So I think it's a great move. Last month we have set up our own company here. Acutagramming previously was just based in Pakistan, Karachi, but after spending 1.5 years, I realized the potential of Dubai, and I have registered itself. So by the way, a news is that we are rebranding Acutagramming to Content Kitchen. We'll provide a full update by the end of this month. This is just what do you call it? When you
like a little infomercial.
A little infomercial you can say. Yeah.
I like it.
So you have worked with since 15 years you've worked mostly with UK based clients, and this is probably your new experience working with clients here in Dubai. Is there a difference in mindsets or the way they operate? Clients from the UK or clients from Dubai? What difference that you see in both?
Absolutely. I think what we've really noticed over the past sort of 18 months is how fast-paced things are out here.
Yeah, very fast.
You know, it's in the best possible way. You know, it's. I was told when I first came out here that in the UK, to get or win a contract, you know, you can speak to 10 different people and nobody will have a meeting with you apart from maybe one. And then at that point, there's a good chance that that job is going to progress. Out here, everybody will have a meeting with you.
Yeah, everybody wants to meet. Yeah, yeah.
Everybody wants
People
to meet.
here love networking.
Yes.
People here, yeah. I was on Thursday, we had an event in Abu Dhabi. It's a family office summit that we do 3 times a year. And I met someone and he was like, this is my first time in this region. And I find it like people are so open to networking. Like it's not common in the West. Like people are, yeah, no, okay, I'm good with myself. But here, because, and I think the main reason is that most of the people here are expats. So everybody is new here, or everybody is just trying to meet new people, new nationalities, make new partnerships, and that's why people are more open to business. I think it's just different in the UK.
I mean, some network groups in the UK, I've been very fortunate to be part of several in the UK that have been fantastic. But I think certainly here, because everything feels so sort of condensed and we're all sort of together, the energy is just bubbling away, and everybody wants to connect. Everyone wants to get further. I think it's that entrepreneur mindset.
Correct.
That every person you meet, you know, we had a masterclass the other day that we did for the chamber out here, and usually sort of in the UK or wherever, those masterclasses, you know, you can feel like you're just standing there at the front and not necessarily get a huge amount back. But the audience here were crazy. It was great. They were asking questions, you know, follow-up questions, coming up to us afterwards and having and asking more questions, you know. So it was, I do feel that out here, that it's just like you can almost feel it in the air. It's like electric.
Electric, yeah. Everybody's so fast-paced, and it's so competitive as well. Like 2 years ago, when I moved here, I started joining a few networking groups, and the one thing that I noticed was that really, you can say, excited me was everybody's so open to learning. So, for example, if you're meeting a person who is from, let's say, a recruitment background, or let's say he works at a tech company or something, but you can talk to him about agriculture and he would know about that. Like, so everybody is so, you can say, diverse. You can talk to them about AI. You can talk to them about like some weird concrete materials, like how the oil and gas fields works. They can talk about this. So I think that's why it really excites you when you were around such people and you're like, man, I thought they'll just know this particular industry and that's all. But everybody's so open to different things.
Absolutely. And I was always told, I can't remember where I first heard it, but in your life, you're going to meet battery chargers and battery drainers.
A good one.
Some people you sort of spend time with, and afterwards you think, ugh, you know, drain of my resources, my social battery's drained. But then here, it seems like everyone's just filling up the battery, you know.
Exactly. So you go to a networking event, when you come back home, you're so anxious, like, oh, I met this guy, he does this. So it keeps you moving, keeps you excited. So in Dubai, you don't feel like less energy. It's always like, it just keeps pumping you up. I think that's the best thing. Moving on to the next thing that I wanted to discuss was like, since you're a marketing company, so is there a particular service that you specialize in, or you're a full service marketing agency?
So originally, when we first started, we were very brand focused. So brand strategy, and then that's sort of where it stopped. Now, over the years, as the team's grown and we've become more established, we've grown into a full service agency. So branding, design for print, web design, video production, and content marketing. So we really have sort of opened up our services now compared to what we were 15 years ago.
Good. So like, if I asked you, like, what's your main service or core service, or what you think like this is our main service, what would it be?
I would say content creation.
Content creation. Okay.
Yeah, certainly over the past few years, we've really noticed an increase of demand.
Correct. Yeah.
There's, and I was talking about it the other day to some people at the event, that when social media first came about, it was a nice to have. And then it sort of progressed into, okay, we need to take this seriously, to the point of we need to take it seriously, but we need to be better than other people within our sectors. And also sort of distilling some myths about what social media and content creation, what they actually are. So I'd say certainly over the past few years, content creation has been a big part of what we do and our main service.
Got it. And even in content creation, I think video has become more popular. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, this is what I have noticed over the past years after the rise of Reels and these TikToks. I think people have started focusing more on the video side of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And people want to buy from people, and they want to see faces.
Correct.
And what we've also got to remember is that, so I'm 42. I'll be 42 in 2 weeks. So I wasn't born with an iPhone in my hand. I only got it sort of later on. Now, the generations that are coming through now, it's second nature to record themselves and to be on camera. So it becomes a very natural thing for them. So when I'm talking to companies about, you need to be more proactive, you need to get your content out there, you need to showcase your team, there's some hesitation, there's some reservation that maybe, no, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. But it's becoming the norm.
And yeah, as they start to realize, like, in this day of age, in Gen Z marketing and everything is being recorded, you have to be open to these new ideas. Like, as you mentioned, you're 42. Even like I'm 25, I still find myself a bit hesitant, but at the same time, I know I have to put my face out, I have to put my brand out, I have to show up every day on social media. That's how I am going to attract the new business. Otherwise, I cannot operate like a 90s business where you are like a multi-million-dollar company and you don't even exist on the web. So,
absolutely. And visibility equals profitability.
correct. Yeah.
So the great thing we have at our disposal is social media. Social media is a great equalizer for that, because we don't have millions and millions, well, I certainly don't, to spend on marketing. And a lot of our clients don't either. But we've got an opportunity that we can sort of get up there. We can build our own communities online that follow the brands because they believe in their values. They want to be part of that community. So, huge amounts don't need to be spent.
Exactly. And right now, if you see, like, previously when companies used to think about content creation, they would think about like, we need a high-end camera, or we need like photographers, professionals. Right now, you can just do it with your iPhone. You don't even need HD cameras or DSLRs or anything.
Absolutely.
You can just put a few functions like 60 FPS and 4K, and you can just record it. Like,
it's true. I mean, and as an agency owner, perhaps I shouldn't be saying this, but so much content can be captured on your own. You've got a phone in Dubai, you've always got great natural light. The point I always say to people if they are going to make their own content is just make sure the audio's right. Because if the image isn't quite there, that's fine, you can be forgiven. But if you can't hear it properly, that's, it's terrible. But yeah, absolutely.
And what I was thinking was, like, as you mentioned, when we are working with clients who are not of this age, but they own big companies, so it's really hard to make them realize the importance of content creation or importance of a website. Like, there are some companies who are like huge in their business. I know, like, at the end of the day, all you care about is like, yes, my company is making good money. Why do I need to be on the web, or why do I need a LinkedIn page? But you need to realize you have to stay here. You don't have to die. If you are not opening up to coming on the web, having social media presence, eventually your digital presence is going to die because world is coming digital. So I think it is challenging to convince them. But what I wanted to ask you is that, for example, if you are discussing a website project or if you are doing a branding for a brand, what are some of the most common challenges that you face working on these projects?
I think there can be many sort of challenges throughout the sort of production process. I think as long as the client and the agency up front have a very clear understanding of the scope, so there's not something that we call scope creep, where jobs get bigger and bigger and bigger, but the budget stays the same. So making sure everything's really clear and make sure that these key milestones are very clearly communicated with the client, so they feel comfortable knowing that we're going to receive stage 1 at this point, stage 2 at this point. But it's also a two-way street, as I'm sure you're aware, that for us to be able to do our job, we're going to need certain things from the client. So we have, over the years, we have fallen down on that, not being able to get certain things off the client or not being able to communicate that. So it's always something that we're working really hard on to try and improve and make the process as frictionless, as clean and simple for the client as possible.
Yeah, if I just share you my experience working on website projects, especially, it's always like, we need a website by end of this month, but we're doing a photo shoot next month. So we are going to provide you pictures, images, and content, everything by next month, but we need the website by end of this month. So this is, I think, the most common challenge that we also face. So that's why I was like, let me ask you, how do you guys tackle that thing? Because it's just very common. It's very, you can say, you have this responsibility on your shoulders, but at the same time, it's not a priority at the moment. So it's just, but one question that I wanted to ask you is that, even in my experience, I have seen so many marketing agencies who do really good, but at a point, they just struggle to scale. Like, they are working, they are busy, but they're not scaling. So what do you think, why it happens, and what are your thoughts on that?
There's many reasons. I mean, sometimes, so I was talking to an agency in Manchester not too long back, and I'll say an agency, they're a one-person business that work with freelancers, and the struggle for him was, how should I scale? At what point do I start recruiting? Now with him, I sort of asked the question, do you even want to scale? A lot of people feel that, you should, that, big is better. But for him, once he had to think about it, it actually wasn't the best thing for him. He wanted to, the point of it was he wanted to spend more time with his family, watching his children grow up. But if you're wanting to rapidly scale, that's probably not the ideal solution. What I find, and the issues that I had scaling, a big one for me was letting go. That for so long I'd handled so many parts of the business on my own that I thought, well, that's the only way it can be done. And I was really reluctant to bring people on and bringing the right people on. So you do interviews and go, no, well, they're not quite right. So for me, it was about letting go. And then also you've got the point of, right, I'm going to let go. At what point do I bring someone else on? Because we seem to have enough work, but what if the work stops and I've got a team full of people? So and that's when cash flow comes into it, and being able to manage and do we outsource freelancers? Do we outsource to other agencies? So scaling, there's a million different things that can get in the way.
And you're right, it's just a subjective thing, as you mentioned about the other guy in Manchester.
Yeah.
Scaling is not for him. He didn't want to. he was like, I'm happy with having a normal running business and happy to spend my time with family. So yeah, I think it's a subjective thing. There are people who want to scale, like myself. I want to, I want to scale and grow a big team. And I think scaling doesn't mean necessarily you need to have a big team. Even with like less people, you can be more productive. So it's just how you manage these things. And I remember last time when we met, you mentioned about hiring processes in the UK. Would you like to share some thoughts about that or discuss again that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the UK, especially with an agency, you can either go down the route of, you're putting out a job ad and then going through the interviewing process, or there may be an agency and somebody there might not be too happy and they might want to leave. So when it comes to sort of hiring for me, I find the best thing to do is not just sort of build a network of, for business. So, going out meeting people who may want our services, but also building networks of other creatives. So partners, strategic partners, freelancers, creative directors that work in other agencies. I've from uni, I met people there and friends that have gone on to have great agencies, to work in great agencies. So I think it's about just staying in the mix and staying in touch with people, because you never know. Your next creative director might just be there.
Yeah.
You know.
It's good to have people like yourself around you, and whenever you need, like, that's what you mean, I think, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
What I wanted to discuss was like the hiring processes in general in the UK. I think this can be a bit challenging. That in when we were discussing about the scaling part as well. Like, whenever I've spoken to like hundreds of agency owners in the past 2 years, and the most common thing that they mention is like, we are not 100% sure the business is going to sustain like this. There's always going to be ups and downs. So what if we don't have work, but we still have people to pay? So
That's the kind of thing that keeps you up at night. As an agency owner, you can, you get this sort of wave sometimes of lots of work, and then it dips, and the panic sets in. Oh, well, we were doing great. What's happening? And then you can think, well, maybe it's the time of year. Maybe it's the economy. It can be all of these different things. So, to your point before about maybe hiring a smaller team, the right team as opposed to a massive team.
Massive team, yeah.
That's the sort of route we've gone down. We're hiring a smaller team of the right people that are going to be agile. Because if you're a smaller agency and you're wanting to grow, you've got to be careful who you bring on. That the people you bring on need to be aware that you're a smaller agency, and there's going to be times where, especially with being full service, you may need to shift to other parts of the business. And then that's at that point, rather than just going straight into a hire, go through the hiring someone, taking them through HR, all these things that come along, long processes. Then maybe look at other possibilities. So working with other agencies, perhaps, or outsourcing. Whether it's to freelancers or whoever. There's it's about not rushing into things, and because I have seen agencies, unfortunately, not survive because they've hired too many people too quickly.
This is, I think, one of the most common mistakes that in like normally any business do. Like, I was taking this course, the Howard Business School online course around entrepreneurship, and this was one of the reasons that they mentioned, like, people think hiring more people will help them scale, but hiring the right people is gonna make you scale. Like, if you take an example, when Elon Musk acquired Twitter, he, I think, fired 70% of the staff, but still it's running. It's running a lot better. They have launched this AI bot Grok and then other stuff, other features. So yeah, again, coming back to that point, it's not about hiring more, it's about hiring right. So even if you have a small team, but they have the same mindset as yours, they can help you grow faster than hiring, let's say, 100 people and then they're just C players or D players or not the A players.
Absolutely. I think it's about getting the right people that share the values of the business.
Correct, correct.
Definitely.
And as we discussed, like hiring through an HR process and then multiple round of interviews, and then even if you get everything right and you do the probation period and it turns out like shit, then do you consider like hiring people on temporary basis, let's say from Fiverr, Upwork, or other different working with agencies, is a good alternative or bad alternative? What your thoughts are on that?
It really depends on the job. So we've the only time we've used services such as like Fiverr or people per hour or things like that tend to be for maybe like smaller one-off little random projects. So we may need like a CAD visual creating, for instance, that we don't have the ability to do in-house, but it's a very small part of the project. So we've done that before, and it's been successful. We do rely on freelancers and partner agencies because we've been very fortunate that over the years, as we've met more and more people, creatives, we've got this wonderful group that share our values. So the freelancers we use, the partner agencies we use, they all want the same thing. They all want everyone to succeed.
Yeah.
So again, it's having the right people that share the same
I
values
think
as you do.
partner agencies is a good idea that has, in my experience, that has been very successful because they're a company and they share the same values as you. They want to grow and helps you grow. But in terms of using freelancers, like for example, Fiverr, Upwork, I have been there, I have done that, but my experience hasn't been very, you can say, successful in that terms, is because their mindset is temporary. So they are just trying to make some extra bucks on a weekend or something, and they treat projects like these. So what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because there's two ways to think about it as well, and something that I'm thinking about more and more as our team grows and as the business grows is communication. And I look at times over the years that perhaps something hasn't gone quite right. So maybe we've tried to outsource something and it came back incorrect. And the immediate thought is to become frustrated and go, oh, they've not listened. Whereas in fact, looking back on it, it was probably myself who didn't communicate clearly to them what was required. So I'm always trying to work on communication skills to make sure that whoever is working on the project, whether they're in-house, external, we're being as clear as possible. So we're not just throwing a brief at them, make this logo bigger.
Communication definitely. Like even when we work with our agency partners, as they use our teams as a back office team for them, we do like weekly check-ins with them or weekly catch-up. Our team members or I myself, it's just, if it's a branding project or if it's a website or anything, that's technical part that can be doable. Like skills can be trained, skills can be discussed, but I think it's the mindset that needs to be right. If we both have a same mindset, same values, and same way of thinking and taking things forward, then it makes things a lot more easier to do. Rather than, yes, we have this project, we need a branding for this. Can you do that? Oh, I don't like this color. What? It's just a lot of back and forth when you don't have the same mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you mentioned, like even if it's in-house or even if it's remote, I think there are advantages and disadvantages of both. Even if it's in-house, if somebody doesn't want to do a good job, he won't do it, even if it's in front of you. So what do you think? Like, what do you think are the advantages that you find in hiring in-house? and advantages in hiring remotely or?
Yeah, so I think with the whether it's an external agency or freelancer, for instance, I think the benefit of that is the if you're inundated with work, touch wood, that happens, then you can call on those partners to help in those times. And then if things do slow down a little, if you've got good relationships with those partners, you can tell them, look, things are slowing down a bit at the moment. We may need to pull back on some of the services. So you can sort of turn it off and on
Off, yeah.
without having the sleepless nights and the pressure of, I've got to pay wages for 10 designers this month and we've only got enough coming in to cover 8. So the flexibility is a huge one for us. I think it's also access to additional skill sets as well. So if you're working on a project and your team are, the level they are within their specific services, such as web design, video production, or what have you, but then maybe there's a call for like a 3D modeling project that you don't have capabilities in-house. You can call on your partner agencies and call on the people around you to sort of help and fill in those spots. And because you've worked with them long enough, they know your values, they know the quality of work that needs to be produced, and you can have open conversations. So flexibility is a huge thing for us.
Flexibility, correct. And flexibility, but one thing I would like to just ask you, do you think like different time zones make things a bit harder, or do you think no?
Not for us. I mean, we've worked with, over the years, a really good freelancer friend, for instance, who lives in Australia, does some editing work for us now and then. It's been absolutely fantastic. As long as everyone's very clear on when the job needs to be delivered, then I think it's absolutely fine. The whole time zone things, I've never seen it as an issue.
Yeah, good, correct. Like for example, if you're based in the UK or even in Dubai or UAE, if you're using a partner agency from here in Middle East or from India, Pakistan, I think the time zone difference is not that much. It's just like a few hours, I think.
Yeah. So our creative director out here, 3-4 hours difference depending on the time of year.
Dubai.
Yeah, never been an issue.
Yeah, Dubai and UK and Asia region in general, I think there's not much difference. Yes, Australia is a bit challenging, especially for us.
Australia, for us actually, it worked really well, especially on one of the projects we had last summer, because we were working on it in the day and then he was working on it in the evening. So the client was really happy with the turnaround time on that because it was so quick. But yeah, I think, look, we're in a world now where we can recruit from all over the world.
Correct.
I've got friends who own other companies, sort of cybersecurity, for instance, and they have staff all over the world. They're able to work remotely. I think it's just the new normal.
New normal, correct, yeah. After the COVID, everybody has become so flexible and so used to this, they don't even find it something new. Like even if you talk about myself, I go just 1 or 2 days in the office. Yeah. I'm mostly working remotely. It just becomes very flexible these days. You don't...
Because when you think about pre-COVID, if you were to have an online Zoom call with somebody, if it was the first time they'd ever used it, they felt very awkward on camera.
Yeah, correct.
Looking at a little picture of themselves in the corner, feeling very, very awkward. But so where we are based in the UK, in Lancashire, we have clients that 5 minutes around the corner, but they'll still say, "Oh, can we just jump on a Zoom
Same with
call?"
Dubai. To be honest, same with Dubai, especially to avoid the traffic. So
avoid traffic, exactly.
Yeah, if somebody's in Marina, they're like, "Okay, let's do a Zoom call." I cannot drive to downtown and get stuck in traffic. I think that's a lot better. What, like, as you mentioned, like, you have a very good experience working with people from different parts of the world as well as in-house. When either we are hiring someone in-house or we are using someone remotely, what do you think as an agency owner is a good way to communicate your values and your mindset to the new hires?
I think they need to spend as much time with the other people in the team as they can. I think you also need to be crystal clear on what your brand values, your company values are, because if you don't know, then they're not going to know.
Correct. Yeah.
So we have ours written down. We have ours written down as, we call them the gold standards. So the gold standards of how we communicate internally, how we deliver projects, and then also gold standards on how we try and proceed. We try and communicate with our clients. So simple things like turnaround time on projects. So things like making sure you're in constant communication with the client, and we have those written down. So whenever somebody comes on board, or we're talking with freelancers, we just let them know, look, this is the way that we work.
And it gets better with time, like once they start to work on different projects, once they are involved in the team.
Absolutely.
And it must be very challenging when you're working remotely or
Traveling.
sorry?
When we're traveling around, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you're hiring someone like external, not in-house, so how do you manage to get them communicate with the team? Remotely, does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's important to realise that things like this don't just happen overnight. You can't expect
Of course,
an external team member to come on board and then all of a sudden they're part of the team. Especially with freelancers or external agencies, they're used to a very up and down lifestyle. They're used to coming in agencies and maybe not feeling too committed to the role. But for us, we like to sort of build on relationships. So we have clients that we've had from 2010 that we still have now.
It's the relationships are the backbone of running a business. So like if you have a short-term mindset and all you care about is just the transactions, then I don't think it's very long-lasting.
Yeah.
So if you're hiring someone as a part of the team and their mindset is also long-term, and they are more committed, then it becomes a lot easier to share the same values and vision, I think.
Absolutely. And if you're working with an external agency or external team members, don't expect everything to be perfect straight away.
Of course, yeah. It's just
we're all human, and that person has just been plonked in the middle of your agency and expected to deliver high standards to your golden standards. You need to be respectful.
Yeah, correct. And I think it's a good mindset that it's fortunate that you have this mindset, but many agency owners, they don't think the same way. And I think that's one of the reasons that they struggle scaling, because whenever they hire someone, even if it's in-house, they have hired someone from the neighborhood or from the college, school time, or they have hired an expert from remotely.
Mm-hmm.
But they expect everything to be perfect from the same day, from the first day, which is...
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I've not always had this mindset. I've had an agency for 15 years now, and it started off as just me. So I was originally just a freelance designer, and it's grown organically over the years. So if you think of scaling, we've actually scaled very slowly. I was very cautious because I went through the whole thing of, do I want to even scale? At the time starting the agency, I just had a daughter. So it was great. I managed to spend so many years with her growing up. So, sports days, activities
You
with
need
school.
it, to be honest. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we got to a point where, okay, I can put a bit more time and effort into the agency now. So we've grown. But the first time I started to use other freelancers, I didn't have this holistic view on it as I do now. It was more of come on, I'm paying you. I need you to deliver.
Yeah, it gets better with time, to be
So
honest. Yeah.
it took me a while to sort of stop and go, hang on, you were a freelancer, 15 years ago. You need to, be a bit more patient, be more respectful. And it's just as you learn and grow.
And I've had the same thing as you were mentioning earlier, like you used to do certain things by yourself, and when you hire someone, you're just a bit hesitant that is he going to do the same job as I'm expecting him to? And when they don't do it, you're like, should I send it to the client, or am I really happy with it or not? It's just a bit challenging, but I think you have to let go of these things.
Absolutely.
And even if they're like, let's say if you were doing it yourself and it would have been like 100% good, but if your team is doing, even if it's 80% as good as you expected it to be, I think it's fine.
Absolutely. And you've also got to remember that it's your business, and no one, regardless of how involved they are with your business, how much they share your values, no one's going to treat it the same way
Correct.
you will. Because to them, it is a job,
It is a job.
And don't get me wrong, we've got some fantastic team members, but I'm fully aware of, this is my business. They're not going to, and I wouldn't want them to. I wouldn't want them to have the struggles of running an agency. I want them to be able to just deliver the work that they enjoy doing. So yeah, understanding.
And yeah, you're right about like, at the end of the day, you yourself have to take the ownership. No one else. Even if you pay someone a fortune, it's still a job for them. And it's at the end of the day, yes, you have to take the responsibility and ownership of that. And you have to, only you can grow your business the same way as you want. Nobody else can.
Absolutely.
So you still have to be, even if you're letting other team members do your hiring people, you still have to be on top of that. So you are seeing everything from an eagle eye, what's going on and all that. So last question that I had, what is that one mistake that have taught you the biggest lesson in these 15 years of your agency career?
I think the biggest issue I had, and the moment I acted on this, things started to go smoother, was you can't do it all yourself. You can't do everything. You can't do the design, the delivery, the accounts, the HR, all of these things you can't do. So you need to surround yourself with the right people. Yeah, because that's the thing that I had early on in the business. I was trying to do everything, and it's not the way to scale.
Yeah,
I
get it because I had the same thing. And like 2 years ago, I think when we first met, we had this exact conversation, like how I was managing everything by myself, and then I realized, no, if I keep doing it like this, I'm not gonna scale, or I'm not gonna free up my time. I'm working like 16 hours or 14 hours a day. It can't be like this.
Yeah.
So I started delegating things, and it becomes a lot more smoother, as you said in your case.
Absolutely, and it's difficult because you want the business to grow in a certain way, and you think that, well, I'm the only one who can do it. And also the mindset, especially if you go on like LinkedIn, the hustle, the grind, all these words that you see on there, the expected
Alex Hormozy.
Yeah. And hey, if it works for you, great, but it's not sustainable to get up at 4 a.m. every morning, dip in an ice bath, and then go to 7 networking events and then do the job. It's, you're 25, you're okay, but certainly not for me. So I think you can't do it all yourself. Surround yourself with the right people, and then it'll start to grow.
Correct. Great. I think, yeah, we have covered most of the things. It was great having you, Gareth. I know, like 2 years ago, I sent you a LinkedIn message. I think you missed it or you saw it, but you were busy. And then I sent you another message after 3 months. And then you responded, oh, yes, I would love to chat about this. And now we're sitting here.
Absolutely.
So that's what I tell you guys. Like, LinkedIn is the key. LinkedIn has made both of us together here, sitting here. So yeah, it's great. Any last message that you'd want to give to the audience? Last words.
I think it's just making sure that you do what's right for you. You know, if you're hearing that, you know, scaling is the thing and it doesn't fit in with your lifestyle, then don't do it. Just make sure you do what's right for you at the time, and then good things will happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Gareth. Again,
thank you very much.
It was great speaking to you.
Pleasure.
Early morning. So yeah, I think we are pretty much done.